Hi guys, welcome to the Attic. My name's Mark Jago, I'm a philosophy professor in the UK. Today I want to start off with our philosophy glossary, trying to tackle some of that terminology that crops up all through philosophy. So if you're just starting out as a philosophy student, getting to grips with this terminology, all of these isms, that can be really difficult, so we're going to try and tackle that in our philosophy glossary. Okay, what we're going to start off with today, a priori, and its contrast term, a posteriori. So what is a priori? What does it mean? When we're talking about something being a priori, we're talking about knowledge. We're talking about a certain kind of knowledge or a certain way of getting knowledge. So a priori means before experience, prior to experience. So when we're talking about a priori knowledge, we're talking about knowledge that you can get, at least in principle, before experiencing that thing in the world. Okay, so here's a classic example, knowledge of mathematics. If I tell you that I've got 2 oranges in one hand and 2 oranges in the other, you don't need to check how many oranges I've got altogether. You know that I've got 4. You can do that in your head, okay? So you've got that extra bit of knowledge a priori, prior to actually looking in my hands and counting how many oranges I've got. Knowledge of mathematics, knowledge of logic, maybe knowledge of philosophy, maybe knowledge of theology. All of this stuff is meant to be, by and large, a priori knowledge. Contrast that with a posteriori knowledge. This is knowledge where you have to go out and experience stuff in the world to know it. Okay, so maybe again I've got 2 oranges in my hand, but to know that, you would have to come and have a look. So if I'm asking you how many oranges have I got here and I'm not actually showing you, you would have to come here and have a look. That would be a classic example of a posteriori knowledge. Okay, so maybe we need a few refinements to those definitions, because in the maths case, you know, knowing that 2 + 2 = 4, that's meant to be a priori knowledge. But maybe you think, well, didn't I need to go to school to learn that stuff and to be told that stuff? And for more complicated sums, wouldn't I need to whip a calculator out? Doesn't all of that stuff count as experience? And if so, how's it meant to be a priori? Okay, yeah. So when we're talking about a priori knowledge, we're usually granting that you've already got the concepts you need to understand that sentence. Okay, so we're expressing the concept with a sentence. 2 + 2 = 4. It's got the concepts of adding, plus, and 2 and 4. So you need experience to grasp those concepts. And you might need experience of going to maths classes to be told how to calculate this kind of stuff, okay? That's all fine with 2 + 2 = 4 being a priori knowledge, because again, if I gave you a brand new sum that you'd never thought of before, you could, at least in theory, work it out in your mind without going out there and, you know, counting stuff in the world. So that would still be an example of a priori knowledge. Contrast that with something like a scientific investigation, or me just asking, like, how many fingers am I holding up right now? Okay, there you have to actually experience the world in order to gain that piece of knowledge. So these concepts, a priori and a posteriori, they come up right the way through philosophy. If we're thinking about classic debates between rationalists and empiricists, if we're thinking about the philosophy of mathematics, if we're thinking about how knowledge occurs, how do we actually get knowledge? Is it through a priori processes? Is it always through a posteriori processes? When we're asking these kind of questions, this terminology is always going to be there at the forefront, so now's a good time to get to grips with it. Okay, so there we have the beginnings of our philosophy glossary with a priori and a posteriori. If you found it useful, do me a favour, give this video a thumbs up. That really helps me out on YouTube. We're going to be doing plenty more of this, so if you want to come back and hear it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications. Thank you so much for watching this far. Hope you found it useful. See you next time.